Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Live Inspired podcast with John O'Leary. You are in, as you always are on these episodes, for a massive treat today. I'm going to go through a list of names and tell me what they have in common. You ready? Beyonce, Cher, Kanye, Tiger, Kobe, Oprah, Denzel, Elon. Well, I think if you are doing the math at home, you recognize in one word, you also understand who that person is. That's a powerful person, a powerful individual when one word tells you who that individual is. Today, I get to share with you the story of a man who's known through just one word. That's enough. And that one word is Rudy. Rudy is not only the subject of a film that helped shape my life when I first saw it, but has shaped the lives of millions of others, whether you like football or not, whether you like Notre Dame or not, but it's positively shaped the life of millions around the world. Today, we have the honor of bringing my friend and now yours into the conversation. Rudy,
Well,
welcome to Live Inspired with John O'Leary.
John, that's a great intro, but let me intro you too. I needed inspiration, as we all do, even later on. And you watch good movies, you watch positive messages, you have to listen to them. It's part of your genre. You need to do that. And your movie, when I saw it, I said, wow, that's amazing. And then here we are talking.
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. That's an energy thing. That's a God thing, I call it. It's meant to be. So here we are.
Well, man, it's unbelievable to have a movie. I know you still feel humbled by that. We share other things too, though, Rudy. You and I are both speakers, but before we became speakers, we were children. I grew
Right.
up in a huge family of six. I thought that was big until I met you and your family. How many kids were part of
We're
your family?
seven sisters, six brothers,
Seven sisters, six brothers, 14 by my math. Uh,
and two parents,
what,
mom and dad.
how
So
big
every
was the
night you
house?
got 16 at the dinner table.
How many bedrooms, Rudy?
Well, we grew up in a very small home, 800 square foot at first, and one bathroom. My mother said, we got to build another house. Well, my dad didn't have the money, so we built it ourselves. I'll never forget. We moved in with no doors, no windows. But he started developing the house as he got more money. He's a great man. He worked three jobs, Air Force, 22 missions of the B-17 bomber. Came in and understood discipline and what he had to do to get things done. It's amazing to watch, and I still scratch my head how they do it. Raising two kids is hard enough, but we got 14, man. How'd you do it?
Wild.
The whole thing about the parents, they had to control you through discipline. And it's funny how they did it. We go to church, they taught fear and consequences. If you talked in church, this will happen. If you turn around in church, this will happen. By the time you get out of church, you didn't think, where am I going to hell? It's that mentality that helped but didn't help.
Yes.
My whole point is helped us in one way, but didn't help us with our mindset and our dreams. So the dreaming is what most people try to stop you from doing. So when the movie did not come to me, I went to the movie.
In researching you, Rudy, and hearing you
Mhm.
speak a couple times, I was amazed to hear how much effort you put into making this thing real. And before we get to the movie, I want to set a little bit of context for what led to a life being worth being made into a movie. Because you grew up, like you alluded to, one
Well,
bathroom for 16 people, man. You grew up without any extra money. You're not going to go to college on this. So talk about the first job out of high school.
well, my first job was a paper route. Second job was another paper route. And what you did on weekends, you helped your dad work the third job, construction, building, taking shingles off a roof, carrying a 35-pound pack of shingles up to him. You learned how to work. You had to
Yeah.
show up. And when I worked in the power plant after high school, you just show up. But showing up doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You got to do some work as well.
Yes.
So because of that, what my dad taught me, work, honor, and respect where you're at. And I didn't want to be a slagger or common man. I wanted to be something much bigger. But that came from Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, the Yankees, Notre Dame, Green Bay Packers. See, sports was very important in our family. It gave you hope, basically.
Yeah.
You go to church and come home with doubt to the Notre Dame replay game, and it gave you hope. So it's kind of like that. So sports is very important.
I know you, after the power plant work, you went off to serve in the United States
Well,
Navy.
the power plant, let me go back to that. All my friends were going to college. And during working in the power plant, we worked through what they call swing shift. But what was happening during that time was the Vietnam War.
Yes.
Now, this is important. I had a choice to make. I didn't want to get drafted, so I'm going to go join. And they always told me you had to be smart to get in the Navy, right? Well, when I saw the Navy recruiter, and I said, well, how smart do you have to be to get into the Navy? He just opened his desk drawer and pulled out a mirror. And he says, breathe in the mirror. And I did. And he says, see, you're in the Navy. See, these people confuse you all the time on where you're going to go. And they put these limits on you. And when you meet someone that says, hey, if you're breathing, you could do it. That's the key.
Yeah.
And then when you go to boot camp, it straightens you out even more because now gratitude comes in. The things that you never had, now you
Yeah.
have. Your skivvies and your socks and your shoes. You had to share it all the time with your brothers or chase your brother to school to get that stuff because he stole your whatever. And now, all that is exciting, but people don't understand that. See, when you grow up in a large family, the little things do matter.
That's right.
A clean house does matter. A bed does matter. I was already conditioned to do all that when I hit boot camp. I knew how to make a bed. I knew how to keep my stuff in order. That's what mom taught. So
Mm.
saying all that, all the things you didn't like doing when you were by a good mother and a good father, it pays off when you take that next step. But that next step was the key to success because
Right.
now they're mentally clearing your mind of doubt and making you a warrior of life, a warrior of Jesus Christ, a warrior of what you need to do. See, that warrior mentality is very important. There's no Democrats, there's no Republicans, there's no black, there's no brown. You're all one because you're on the same team. It's
Military. Right.
yeah, brotherhood. Do I trust you? And unfortunately, we get in the real world, then we have these goofballs that put these limits and all this classification of who you should be and what you are. But what saves your mind is departmentalizing those goofballs and put them in a different source in your mind. Don't let them inspire you. Let them put a chip on your shoulder. Let them
Right.
tell you what you can't do, and you do it. I think that was the key. I learned that from a large family because, hey, we weren't looked at as a wealthy family. You sit at dinner every night, you have food on the table, but you can't have seconds.
Yeah.
My dad said, fill your plate up. Don't look for the next. And you
Right.
better eat what's on your plate.
You're a sweet mom, man.
And
16 plates. That's a
well,
lot of rice.
chicken, meatballs, spaghetti, it's hamburgers. I mean, that was our meal. We never had steak or,
Right.
but
Uh,
what's the point to all that? Called gratitude. Now you're in the Navy, get all that. All that stuff meant something.
mm.
And it opened up my eyes. There's a better world out here. It allowed me to dream. Dreaming is what we have to do.
Rudy, when you came home from serving our country, you took that job again at the power plants. And then my understanding is one of the things that helped shape your life was
Well,
you
you
lost
didn't,
a friend.
yeah, well, you didn't have a game plan either. All right. You had a
Did you
dream,
lose?
but no game plan. Now, here's how a game plan works. You know this. You don't sit down and develop a game plan. What you do, you go to work, you don't want to be there, but you're still showing up and doing your best. And you're getting a nice paycheck, a union check, and you're honoring your job, but you don't want to be there. Now, what happens, there's some guys on that job that just take shortcuts.
Yeah.
And in the military, you don't take shortcuts, or that's your life. And one day he took a shortcut and ended his life. That was my friend. That's what changed my life. That's what I said. I'm not going to live in regret. I'm not going to live in shortcuts. I'm going to go for my dream. I went towards the dream.
Mm.
No game plan. Now, I call them angels. God puts little angels in your life, people in your life that you never expect. If you go towards your dream, if your mind's set to be clear of all the nonsense and all the noise, you're going for that dream. You're going to Notre Dame. You're not going to ask how either. You're just going to go, right? And you're going to find out what you need to do once you get there. Now, no one told me there was a junior college there. Like no one told you what to do. How did you become a speaker? Well, I listened to Zig Ziglar. I was selling insurance after Notre Dame. I said, dude, I want to do what you do. He said, you have to do something. Bingo. And I said, well, I did. I made a tackle. And he laughed. You know, you made a tackle and you think you can come up here? I said, absolutely. And I meant it, but he didn't know what I,
You didn't
he didn't
understand,
know
right?
the, no, that's okay. But he didn't put it down. He just says, you have to do something. And he was right. Now, we all do something. We all accomplish something that people say we could never do. And I think when my friend died, I went to the mindset, I'm going there and I'm going to find out what I need to do.
Rudy, why did a kid from outside Chicago with 13 siblings and a dad working three jobs and no money, and you were dyslexic and you struggled, you were the third from bottom in your class in high school. There's no
Well,
path forward for you to college. What was it about Notre Dame that you saw as a magnet, as like a North Star?
hope. That's all it was hope. If I can go to heaven, that's heaven to me. That was like a slice of heaven. But I found it's not a slice of heaven. There's some idiots there too, and some good people. So you have to put yourself around the better people, not the goofballs. No matter where you go, you're going to have that. And no matter what you are, you're going to have those people around you. You have to learn how to not be around them. I say this because this is how we get stuck.
Was for you, was the goal football or Notre Dame or
No,
both?
no, it was getting in Notre Dame.
So it wasn't football.
No, football was kind of like, wow, if I get in, I could play football,
Okay.
right? But I have to get in first. That was the struggle. Can you get in? When I showed up, right across the street, there was a little sign that says Holy Cross Junior College. The
Right.
light went off. So I take a right, go into there. It's a little building with 100 kids that go to school there. It's run by the Holy Cross Fathers. There's a guy sitting behind the desk. He was in the Navy. And I said, excuse me, but I'm Rudy Ruettiger and I want to go to Notre Dame, but I know I have to do some work to get there. I was in the Navy. I just got out. My friend died. He goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Boy, he says, wow, you went through some things, huh? Yeah. He said, I was in the Navy too. Where'd you serve? And we had it up. He said, what you need, son, is a game plan. And we're going to develop that for you. So he developed that game plan for me to get to Notre Dame. And he did things that I thought, wow, they told me I have to have a SAT and an ACT, and you're telling me I don't? He says, no. Now, if you do well in these courses, we transfer those courses to Notre Dame. So you're proving it to them that you could do the work.
Yeah.
Only way you get there is through my endorsement. So you got to do the work, show up, and get help because that's what you're going to need. It's called collaboration. That's what I learned in the military as well, how to collaborate with people. So all those little things starting to show up that makes sense now. And that was how I got to Notre Dame.
To get to Notre Dame, not only did you have to go to the Holy Cross, you had to work jobs, you had to work out, you had to work your tail off academically, you had to raise your hand and ask for help. Where's the motivation to work that hard and all things come
Well,
from?
here's the key. It's not work when you're at a place you want to be. It's a different type of work. I'm okay. I can sacrifice, but it's a different feeling. People call it work. I call it, wow, this is cool. Look where I'm at. So I got to work. I'm going to go ask for some help. They call it a mastermind today. I just call it, hey guys, I need some help. And you build this little, I call united group to where my friend, he's now a federal judge, was my tutor. He was a student at Notre Dame. He got to know me and he noticed something. He says, you take too many notes.
Mm.
Because I showed him, show me He said, too many notes. You shouldn't take any notes. After talking to you, you don't even listen. I said, yeah, but I got to take those notes. He says, no, no, no. You don't take any notes. You listen and get with people who can take notes, who can explain the notes to you. So now you become a better listener. I said, wow, that made sense. So that's what I did. I started doing really well in my classes because of that technique. Because a lot of times we take notes, we're not listening to what he's really saying or she's saying.
Who was Father John Kavanaugh?
Father John Kavanaugh was the president of the University of Notre Dame. And when he retired, I happened to show up one night and he thought I wanted to go to Holy Cross Seminary. When I said Holy Cross, he didn't connect the junior college. He thought I wanted to be a priest. And I said, no, Father, I don't want to be a priest. He said, well, then why are you here? I want to go to Notre Dame. He got confused. He says, I think we need some help here. So he called a couple priests that I knew, Father Tom McNally. They came over and talked to me and put me up for the night. They got me to talk to a provost of the university. He says, Notre Dame's not for everyone, son. I says, then that means I can't go to heaven, and shut him right up. He didn't know what to say to that. He just said, well, you need to call your parents to get home. Well, I didn't go home and I didn't call my parents. I was going to find out what I needed to do. So the only thing I could do is I'm going to go see that Notre Dame football coach. I stayed up most of the night and you don't sleep. You're just praying on what to do. You knew where Arab Parsegian, what time he showed up. He showed up. I hid behind the bushes. He comes out of the car. He just won the national championship. And I'm frozen. I said, oh, what am I doing? This is stupid. But something told me from it, just tell him what you want. So I jumped out and said, Coach, Rudy Ruettiger, I was in the Navy. And he said, you in the Navy? Where'd you serve, son? I said, well, I got trained in Chicago and I did the Mediterranean. I was Sixth Fleet. I was on two. He says, yeah, so was I. I was in the Navy. Then we talked Navy. We didn't talk football. And he said, now, what are you doing here? I said, I'm not here yet, but I will be. I want to try out for the team. He said, how old are you? And I told him 25. He said, well, you come and see me when you get in, because he connected the military and he liked the character. He liked the boldness.
Yeah.
This kid's courageous, man. He said, we need this type of attitude on our team. So he didn't pick me for speed or that I could start. He picked me for character. And
Mm.
that was the key, I think.
Rudy, what was that like, man? A kid who struggled so much academically, struggled so much
Mhm.
through various other aspects of life, and then you open up this letter, not sure what it's going to say.
Got two other letters very thin. I knew what that meant. But when you get that thicker letter, you know you're in.
Was this one thin or thick?
Thick. That meant
Okay.
all your information's in there. But I already knew I was going to get rejected because I was told you need 4 semesters at the junior college. Not one, not two, not three, but 4. But I applied every semester. Why did I do that? I was told if you're going to be somewhere and want to be somewhere, let them know you're coming. So the only way I could do that is by sending my and getting rejected and going to them saying, what more do I need to do? Then you got to know them, the missions. Then they got to know you and they liked you. And a good thing I did that because that's when they were bringing girls into Notre Dame and the slots were kind of getting narrower for me to get in because they had to pick so many girls versus so many guys. And I guess I was on top of their list.
Mm.
They liked this one guy liked me for sure, and the dean he kind of knew me because I went to see him every day. He told me you don't need to see me every day. I said I know, but the day you don't see me is the day I get in. He laughs. Said, you'll be here, you know. So that's kind of like I was a pain in the butt, but a good way. So you got to grease that wheel in a
Yeah.
different way. You can't be a burden to most people, but you got to let them know, hey, I'm here.
Rudy, for the folks who are pursuing a dream, but it seems hard to attain or maybe impossible sometimes,
Right.
what kept you going?
The vision that you were given. It wasn't about playing football, it was just a vision. This is where you need to be. And when you walked on campus, it was a slice of heaven, but there was work involved.
Yeah.
Football, wow, God, I get to be around these guys. Holy cow. And all I need to do, I'm never going to start, right? But what kept me going were people, the janitor, players on the team, certain coaches kept me in the game, kept me
Yeah.
coming back, but through encouragement. Now, every day is not a great day for me. You get those little moments and it keeps you going. It's like if you're in a hospital like you were and the doctor keeps coming in saying, you never play the piano, why do you want to listen to that doctor? Hey, get me out of here. But the nurse comes in and says, you're going to be okay. She gives you that little bit of encouragement, or whoever that may be. And
Yeah.
that's what happened to me. Basically, you get those, common, ordinary, average people gave me encouragement. And that's what I connected to. Now, did I connect to the All Americans? No, they didn't want me around.
Right.
The entitled athletes didn't want me around because I
Right.
made them
I've heard you
uncomfortable.
talk about this in the past.
Yeah, but it's
So
true.
I'm curious, the tackle, the sack, the moment where you ultimately get carried off the field. That's been 50 years ago now. Unbelievable. Yep, 51 almost. Does it feel like it's 5 decades old when that happened?
It doesn't even feel like it happened, to be honest. It
Tell
was
me more.
it was
What does
like
that mean?
it was like a dream. It wasn't real, but it was real when I was there. You don't think about the tackle. Your job was to go to practice every day. Your job was preparation, and you prepared every day and you practiced every day like you were going to play. When that moment
Right.
happened, you were there. I mean, it happened. Now, here's the key. I never think about that moment. I only thought about it during the moment.
Right.
That's the past. I had to think about what am I going to do now? And I mean, the tackle was great. I
Yeah.
didn't realize they would make a movie out of it till I saw Rocky. And I didn't realize that the movie would be that good until I got the right guy to write it who hated Notre Dame, hated Notre Dame. And he was
Right.
and he was agnostic on top of it. But when he got the job because of a Michigan State guy who applied to Notre Dame, who got turned down, who ended up going to Michigan State as a walk-on, was now the president of Columbia Pictures, who loved the movie Hoosiers. Well, because of a hotel manager I developed a relationship with, got me to his brother that went to Indiana U, who did the movie Hoosiers with his two fraternity brothers. He came and talked to me because Notre Dame finally shut me down. But because of that hotel manager says you need to talk to my brother, talk to him. This is where again God sends angels in your life. You can't let people stop you, no matter who they are, and no matter what they are. But the good people, the champions,
Yeah.
never will never look at you like that. They always respect what you're doing and give you that little help or push you forward through words or some type of encouragement. And this hotel manager did. And his brother loved the story, set up a meeting with the writer of Hoosiers. I went out to California, but before I went out, I had to go tell my boss I'm going back out to California while he fires me. I go out to California. He doesn't show up. And because he doesn't show up, I'm sitting in that restaurant, I don't know, 4 hours. But good thing I sold insurance because I learned what a no-show was. So it didn't bother me, but it bothered my friend. So I told my friend, hey, dude, I'll be back. He said, where are you going? I said, don't worry about where I'm going because I can't listen to your doubting anymore. He kept doubting. We got stood up. This is stupid. To him, it was stupid, but to me, it wasn't. He's a good guy, but he's facing his reality, not mine. I said, hey, you just wait. I'll be right back. And I walk out, there's a mail carrier who basically was just happy. And all I did was thank him. And he said, where are you from, man? No one's ever thanked me. I said, I'm from Indiana. I'm from Michigan. And we had a little connection. And he had gratitude, is what he had. And we started talking. And it's like getting my new skivvies in the Navy, gratitude, right? And what's my whole point? Because of that gratitude, it got me to speaking to you.
Mm.
It's a crazy thing, but I was just with the Top Gun fighters and the guys who did the B-2 bomber and now developing the B-21. I'm their guest, I'm their speaker. And all those guys come up and give me their stories. But the point is, when you share your story, you inspire other people to
That's
tell
right.
their story. So when I told the mailman my story, he got inspired. And he said, follow me. I know where that guy lives. So I followed him. He brought me right to his house. And when I knocked on the guy's door, the mail carrier told me, don't tell anybody where you're going, how you got here. I call that an angel.
Amen.
Angela was very precise, very clear. Rudy, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to talk to you because I hate Notre Dame. And I'm not going to do another sports story. I'm changing genres. So why didn't you tell me that? I didn't say that. I didn't give him that. Okay, I came all the way out here, you goofball. I didn't say, I said, I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. And we kind of connected because I didn't fight, agree to disagree. I didn't go
You
there.
pivoted. That's right.
Right.
Take it and move.
Yeah, and we became friends for some reason in a different way called respect. Now, Angelo then called me to 2 years later because the guy, that Michigan State guy, who's now got $50 million to do a sports movie like Hoosiers, called Angelo and David to see if they had another movie in mind. And they said, I got a walk-on movie. He said, write it.
Awesome.
He went, where'd he go to school? Notre Dame. Write it. I can't wait to see it. And that's how it happened. So how does all that happen? For the pursuit of eliminating what you thought you should do, then you get inspired to do what you should do.
Mm.
And that's
Pe-
key.
I think people mistake your story. I think they mistake it on several levels. One, they think it's a football story, and it's really an overcoming life story and pursuing your dreams full tilt. And then they think that your story culminates with you being carried off the field.
Let me tell you who those people are who think like that. They're not dreamers. They're living
Right.
through other things. The dreamer, well, I'm in New York getting a taxi cab or a car, and the guy from Pakistan says, Rudy, I'm here because of your movie. He's a
Yeah.
dreamer. Doesn't talk about football, doesn't talk about, academic. He talks about the journey, the pursuit of your dream and overcoming. That's the people. There's 97% of America that are average Joes are making it every day, but they get caught up in the narrative and the nonsense and they get confused and they should be chasing their dream.
So let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
What's for you? Because you've chased
Mhm.
huge dreams and accomplished some huge dreams. What's harder, chasing the dream and overcoming all the hurdles along the way, or living
Well, you
that
get
dream
confused. You get confused along the way too.
but what's more difficult for you, pursuing the dream or once you accomplish it, living it afterwards
I think having new dreams.
is harder.
Yeah, because you need other dreams. I got inspired to speak. I'm not a speaker. I'm not even that good, but I get to go up there and speak and people pay you. I said, this is great. I do it 30, 40 times a year. I'm going, why am I up here? I didn't go speak in school or the speaking of life taught me,
Nice.
right? You can't make that stuff up. Second of all, I didn't know I was going to go in the Navy until Vietnam happened. And my dad served in the Air Force, so I'm going to serve as well, but I'm not going to get drafted. I'm going to choose where I'm going. So I saw the world differently and encountered some great people along the way who encouraged me. Not everybody on the ship understands your dream, but there's a handful of guys that do because they're dreamers too. You hang around them. So my point is, I start hanging around dreamers who actually did it. I love these people who start companies and
Hmm.
overcome. I love these people who have a purpose. That's why I love your movie. You had no idea you would be a speaker. You
Right.
didn't dream about it till you got inspired. That's when
Amen.
things happen. When I saw Rocky, bingo, I write a letter to Stallone. He writes a nice letter back, not my cup of tea. But years later, 10 years later, I'm on the jet plane with him going to Vegas from LA. He's promoting Cliffhanger. I'm promoting Rudy. And I say, now it's my turn. But he wanted to meet me because he heard how I broke the walls down in Hollywood. He respected me. So we had a great
Yes.
conversation and a great connection. So that's how it happens. But man, I talked to Don Manley. Okay, here's an interesting dude. And David Freese. David Freese first gets a triple and then a home run to win the World Series, right? And he's up, and people are asking him stupid questions. What kind of pitch did you get? And David, he's going, well, there's a slider and there's curve. And I said, David, you didn't care what kind of pitch that guy was pitching you. You were going to hit it regardless because of your feeling, what you wanted to get done. So whatever pitch you were going to hit it. When you think and outthink your position, you're going to strike out because 7 out of 10 times that's what happens. You fail. He says, you're right. He says, and that guy out there wanted to know what kind of pitch he hit. David had no idea what kind of pitch he hit. He put that barrel on that ball because that's what he wanted,
Yeah.
right? And it goes through instinct. My friend, who's a coach of Milwaukee Brewers, manager, he's back-to-back manager. He comes to Notre Dame where we're shooting a movie. He comes from New York, and he wants to coach at Notre Dame. He's a big Notre Dame fanatic. Great guy. He knew every guy in the lineup of the football team and the past football. He was incredible. But they wouldn't give him the job. He was too Notre Dame, rah, 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 they thought. That's wrong people he's talking to.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, he says, I love Notre Dame. I had a love for Notre Dame. I wasn't rah-rah. I had a love for it. It was a love story for me. He had the same feeling. Well, anyhow, he finally got the job 2 years later. They offered him $7,000 a year. He took it. You know what he's making today? 10 million.
Oh,
He recruited a kid from Wisconsin who was just an average Joe. He saw skill and talent, started recruiting those guys, and took Notre Dame from a club sport to a national sport. And that one kid he brought in just happened to hire him as a bench coach with Milwaukee Brewers. This kid won 2 World Series, ends up being a coach and a manager, ends up managing the Milwaukee Brewers, who needs a bench coach. And Pat, who went to Arizona State for 17 years, got fired, ends up with Dave Roberts 1 year with the Padres. Then they needed jobs. His coach from Notre Dame needs a bench coach, hires him as a bench coach. Now his kid from Notre Dame gets the Cubs job and he gets the Milwaukee job. And we give the Rudy Award out every year to one of his Rudies. That's how it happens.
that's awesome.
When you meet dreamers and they're doing whatever it takes, they're not after the money like the kids are today. Now they're ruining college sports. It's a train wreck. It's terrible. And sports, remember what I said, is what got me dreaming.
Yeah.
Now you're dreaming about if I don't make it, I can't make the money. It's a totally different dream. It's stupid.
Rudy, what are you dreaming about today? What's
Me?
next?
I don't know. Once I got inspired by a story, we just created a pitch deck for NIL to do the real why it's a bad deal and how they should just give these kids stipends. They don't need all that money right away. I love stories. So I put them together and we did a movie. Hopefully it gets funded here on June Jones called Born in June. And that's ready to go until we get the money. So little things like that. Not that's what I want to do, but it's fun to do. All right. It's
Right
fun
on.
to put people together and put stories together to give people hope. Well, how did I see your movie? I was looking for good movies to watch. I need those movies like So on Fire got me to watch that. It inspires me to keep going, and you can get a lot of rejection along the way and a lot of no. I don't know how your movie happened or why it happened, but I'm sure you didn't go to them.
It was a fight, man, just like it was for you. A lot of rejection, a
Yeah.
lot of indifference, and a lot of dreaming, hoping, and praying to
Well,
guide this thing
Sony
forward.
Affirm was the key to your story because there's not many studios that do faith-based movies or relationship movies. It's a hard sell, as you know. It's not an easy. Everybody wants to do a movie. Uh,
Yeah. And they
everybody,
typically want the hero to wear a cape. And
yeah.
in our cases, I think one of the great unsung heroes in your film is the janitor.
He was an interesting dude because I got 3 characters in him. Because my movie was a composite of
Yeah.
people, an embellishment of people. We didn't show the military. That
Yeah.
wasn't important at the time. What was important was getting to Notre Dame academically, playing in a football game, playing in the last game in the last seconds, them picking you up in your arms of touchdown Jesus. That's what
I
they
got
bought.
Rudy, I got to ask because we're going to shift in a minute into the Live
I got it.
Inspired 7. So
Right.
we'll wrap up. But
That's all right.
what has surprised you most about the success? Now decades in on the film, Rudy, what's been most surprising to you?
Well, I'll give you this past weekend. We were snowed in Evansville, Indiana. We finally get off the plane into the car, and I'm not even dressed to do a speech, but I got to walk right into the meeting. And I walk in. This is what's wild. Uh, when I got my Valor Award in the Navy,
Yes.
I went to the Pentagon, and this Joint Chief of Staff, Admiral Grady, wanted to meet me. He went to Notre Dame. I walk in his office, and he's got his Notre Dame jacket hanging behind his chair and his fencing gear all displayed. He said, I was a walk on. So we had that conversation. Now I walk into this meeting, and there's a guy that comes up to me. He's 60 pounds lighter. That's Admiral Grady, who retired, now working for this company. He says, you got to meet the president. He was a Top Gun guy, right? And you meet up, they come down to a level of dreams. And some guys get real emotional meeting. These are fighting pilots. These were
Yes.
Green Beret guys. These were Navy SEAL guys. They're coming up to you and they just want to touch you. And what have I done? You know, but it
You
helps
gave
them.
hope, Rudy. They gave hope.
That's exactly my point. When you give someone hope, they don't care what you look like. They don't care if you're ugly. They don't care if you're fat. They don't care if you got whatever. You're a person to them. You're something. You're connected to them. And my whole point was, I don't have to give a great speech to give a great speech. You have them. And it's what I mean by that, when you capture an audience because of hope, they will listen to you.
Yes.
And that's why movies were important. I heard some great speakers say, "Wow, what the hell am I doing here?" You know, but they're regurgitators, most of them. Guys like you are not a regurg. You're the real deal. I
Mm.
mean, when you play the piano after your speech, that's to me, that's what inspires people. Those moments, it gives them hope.
Rudy, man, honestly, could spend the entire day just visiting with you and hearing the stories and
I
laughing,
got too
right?
many stories.
So, what we wrap every conversation with is what's called the Live Inspired Seven. It's just seven rapid fire questions.
Got it.
And I have a feeling you'll be able to run through this practice drill with me. So, here we go. What's been the most impactful book you've ever read?
I'm not a reader because I'm dyslexic.
What about film? How about film? What's been
Well,
a
yeah,
film?
there's a
that-
lot of films. Rocky's one of them, as you know. Sean Astin was in a movie called Memphis Belle.
I knew you'd like that one because your
Yeah,
dad.
yeah, and he inspired me, and that's
Yeah.
how we picked him. If there's a good movie, good story, I'm gonna watch it. I don't want to tell people what to watch. They should search them out, whatever inspires them. But I know what inspires me. Good stories that have a purpose.
Rudy, what's one beautiful characteristic you had as a kid that you wish you
Work ethic,
exhibited as
work ethic,
brilliantly today?
work ethic.
Work ethic.
And
All right,
there,
man. What if your home caught fire and
mhm.
all living things are out, but you have an opportunity of running back into that house and getting one thing? What would you grab?
My dog.
Your dog's out.
No, he's not. I'm gonna go get him.
All right. If you could sit on a bench on a gorgeous day and have a long conversation with anyone living or deceased, who do you want to be next to?
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that. I'll sit with a regular Joe. And how about that guy?
Right on.
You know,
Ru- Rudy, what's the best advice you've ever received?
be Rudy.
What advice would you have given yourself at age 20? So if you could go back in time and whisper some wisdom your way, what would you say to that 20-year-old?
Get your life in order.
Final question, Rudy. It has been said that all great people can have their lives summed up in one sentence. How would you like yours to read?
Persevere.
Rudy,
That's
uh,
what you do.
one of 14 babies, grew up in a very working class home, a father who worked three jobs, a mother who worked just to keep the food on the plates. You worked your way through struggle. You had a dream in mind for your life. You lived into it brilliantly, and you taught the rest of us we can too. Man, that is worth being carried out of a stadium and into heaven. So I thank you for persevering.
Well, I like what you just said into heaven. It's not off the field. A lot of people confuse football scoreboard versus life. It's about life lessons. It's not about that scoreboard. They confuse winning versus winning in life. That's why I love when I meet the Naval Academy. When Notre Dame played the Naval Academy, we went there for our 50-year reunion of the tackle. No one cared. I cared about the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
I know those guys are winners. They got their butt kicked, but they're winners off the field. They're the jet pilots. They're the fighters. They're the warriors. They're the ones who persevered. They're the
Yeah.
ones who went through the tough time. These kids had nothing. They're good athletes, don't get me wrong. And they're nice kids, don't get me wrong. Some of them come from situations that were tough, but now they're living in a Ritz-Carlton.
Hmm.
Seriously, it bothers me because I can walk across Notre Dame's campus, no one knows you, which is wonderful, but I'm going to be buried at Notre Dame because I will haunt those naysayers in a different way. My point is, you have a legacy. And if you go for your legacy, you're better off than what kind of home you have, what kind of cars you drive, how much money you have in the bank. I mean, that's nice to have all that, but man, your legacy is more important.
My friends, we began with words that sound like this: Beyonce, Tiger, Kobe,
Don't
Denzel,
forget Elvis.
Elon. But we end with this word, Rudy. Rudy. So we chat that one as we carry Rudy off of this field today. Rudy
And
Ruettiger, I want to thank you for living that message and reminding the rest of us we can too. You reminded Kobe, you reminded me. God
you
bless you,
hear
my
the real
friend.
deal, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you, Rudy.
What an honor.